Morning, folks. My wee second to get Facebook on, Bob. Hope we're all well today. I'm glad to report that I'm over my man flu and feeling better. Nice to see so many of you there this morning. Morning, Reagan Elite. Hope you enjoyed your wee break. Nice to see you there this morning. Okay, that's Facebook on, Bob. Morning, folks. Indy Truck Davey out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is a crisp, clear, sunny morning. And I mean cold, 3 degrees. Was colder through the night. It was down to minus. Sorry, it was down to 0. And there was a frost this morning, but sun's up now. And hopefully the day will warm up. Anyway, what we got for you today? Well, as we know, Mr. Salmon passed away in North Macedonia at the weekend. Sad loss for his friends and family, I have to say. But as you know, I'm not enamoured with politicians, actually. I'm not enamoured with them. This stuff about political giants and things like that. I don't buy that pish. But the man does deserve the tributes he's getting. He did wake up a nation. I have criticised him for his mistakes. But hey, that's what us political commentators do. We politicise politicians. We criticise politicians. But, as I say, the man woke a nation up. He changed the course of Scotland's history throughout his time as a politician. And that's a mega achievement for anybody. And of course, we have the shock of it, apparently. Shock that Mr. Salmon died at 69. I've got fucking news flash for the newspapers. The headline should have been, shock, his man survives to 69 in the colony of Scotland under the yoke of their imperial masters. Fucking 69's a good innings here in Scotland. Your average man's lifespan's only 75 years, allegedly. No, here in Scotland. Here in Scotland, your average man's fucking lifespan is 58 to 60, 68. So Mr. Salmon actually did a good innings. A really good innings for somebody here in Scotland. Especially as he's from the central belt of Scotland, Linlithgow. And here men still die at an average of 58 to 63. Wow. Shock. The title said that the shock headline should have been man survives to 69 in Scotland. Right, anyway, let's go on and we'll see what the papers are going to say. We'll get to see the sheer hypocrisy of the press. And I mean that. The sheer hypocrisy of the press. It's unbelievable. I'll be putting a few of these up. I have to say, I was going to run with the English press today. It's much more interesting. It really is. But anyway, we'll put some of these ones up. So first up is the Daily Rancid. The paper who demonised the man and told Scotland that this man was Scotland's ruin. So let's put it up, shall we? Let's see what the Rancid's got for us today on Mr. Salmon. Salmon, the final moments. Host tells of how former First Minister's tragic collapse at dinner table. Tributes flood in after nationalist Alex dies of suspected heart attack. No much in the way of praise there for the man. You know, nationalist dies. By the way, the term nationalist in Scotland has a different meaning for what the people in England think. Here in Scotland, we have something called civil nationalism. Our nationalism isn't based on blood and soil and fucking flags and glory. Our nationalism is based on the idea of good governance and the best people to make decisions for Scotland are the people who live in Scotland. No people for a different country in a parliament 459 fucking miles away who has a majority of MPs who know fuck all about us and don't really care about us either. So, you know, nationalism here in Scotland is a totally different thing than what most people associate with nationalism. It's no blood and soil. It's no about identity politics. It's about good governance. That's why when people come to Scotland, we don't call them foreigners or migrants. We call them new Scots. And we welcome them with open arms because we need them. Our population's aging and our workforce is diminishing. So unlike the people south of the border who like to demonise new people who come to participate in their economy, here in Scotland we don't even call them foreigners or migrants, we call them new Scots. And we welcome them with open arms. Right, let's move on. Now, I don't normally do local rags, but this one I am going to do because this one cracks me up. And that's the Press and Journal. So I'm going to put it up. Now, this is the paper for the area where Alex actually lived in Scotland. Although he was from Lithgow, he actually lived in the northeast in Aberdeenshire. So let's look what the Press and Journal have got to say. And what the Press and Journal have got to say is North East mourns local hero salmon. Mourns local hero salmon. The Press and Journal went after this man worse than anybody else. It even helped organise getting him kicked out of Westminster at the 2017 election. Local hero salmon. The Press and Journal hated him. And the people of Aberdeenshire are generally bloody Tories. So the idea that the North East mourns Mr. Salmon, the North East will be throwing a fucking party. A party. Right, the Metro has best of health, then he collapses. I don't know whether he was in the best of health or no. I don't know anything about his medical history at all. For all I know, he could have a heart condition. For all any of us know, he could have a heart condition. And he might not know any of the heart condition. That's no uncommon here in Scotland. In fact, it's no uncommon across the United Kingdom. Men just tend not to go to the doctors until it's too bloody late. That's just the way it is, I'm afraid. You know. Right, the Sun. This one's a fucking... The hypocrisy in this one, it all cracks me up. It really does. As I say, but... I'll put this one up and all. As I say, because the hypocrisy in this fucker, this just cracks me up. This is another rag that demonised this man, went after this man, and even after he had left public office, still tried to portray the man as something horrendous. As I say, I've criticised his mistakes, but I haven't done any of the sort of things that these people have done. I've never taken away from the fact that the man was a formidable politician, and that he did wake the people of Scotland up and took the genie, to take the cork out the bottle and let the genie out the bottle. Because, as I say, this one cracks me up to fuck the Sun. His dream shall never die, says rag that tried their best to fucking kill it, and are still trying their best to kill it. This is a rag that mocked and belittled this man and the cause of Scottish independence, and here they are. You see the sheer fucking hypocrisy of it. Cracks me right up, so it does. Right. And the National's got family pays tribute to formidable politician. And that's what he was. A formidable politician. I'm not for us glorifying and superstarring of these people. They're public servants. He's a good public servant. And One thing we're lacking right now is good leadership. And Alec was a reasonably good leader. Demanded the highest standards and work ethics for the people who had run about him, and did great things for Scotland while in office. And even managed to do it as a minority government. Alec was that formidable a politician. He even got the Tories support his budget. The Tories to support his budgets. Unreal. They say, but I nearly went with the English papers today because they're much more interesting, to be honest with you. But as I say, there is no doubt that Mr. Salmon's passing is a story. It is a story, and these newspapers will take his passing as a way of hammering the cause of independence, and they will use it to say the cause died with him. But as the son said, the dream will never die. We all have to start again. We do have to build again. But the dream won't die. And the Scottish Daily Fail, well, the Scottish Daily Fail and a couple of other papers tells us how small-minded Mr. Salmon's so-called allies are. They weren't the allies. They were people riding on his shirt tail for notoriety. They weren't his allies. These are the people who put the splits in the movement starting. And now we've got the same people advocating to split the movement again. Instead of realising how movements function and work, where people have to coalesce behind one thing and go directly at it in a straight line. You don't have multiple heads so that the state can't cut them off. Went that a fucking last time. We need a leader to coalesce behind, and we need a route forward. That's what we need. But what we have is the same fucking half-wits who split this movement in the first place, talking about splitting it again. Wow. Anyway, let's move on. That was a Daily Fail. And what the Daily Fail says, we will avenge him, vows Salmon's allies. As I say, they weren't his allies. They were people riding his coattails for their notoriety. I mean, one of the things that sprung to my mind right away when the news come through at 5:26 on Saturday. One of the first things that came to my mind was, what's Tasman going to do now? What's Chris McElhinney going to do now? No. So, right, what's the Scotsman go? This one will be another fucking doozy. I mean, all of us remember how this paper, this unionist rag, demonised the man. Absolutely went after him. Pictured him as some sort of monster there as a parasite because Scotland would fail if this man had his way. But truth is, of course, Dodger 37's right. Hang on. Salmon was finished electorally with Alba. Salmon was finished full stop. The civil servants that brought the case, which was mishandled apparently by the Scottish Government against Mr. Salmon for being a wee bit touchy-feely, that was him fucked. Proven innocent or not. The way the press portrayed it, in half the population's eyes here in Scotland, the man was a woman molester and a womanizer. So half the population here would have been voting for him anyway. But that's the same press now who are, sticking him on a fucking pedestal. And the Scotsman was particularly Guilty of that. Anyway, the headline in the Scotsman, Salmon inspired a generation, says Swinney. His family plays tributes. And organisers tell how time stopped when the former First Minister collapsed at conference. Now, what's the Herald got? The Herald's got Alex Salmond, the last picture, and Salmon court cases to continue. I'm sure the family wanted to hear that right now. I'm sure could they not have given them a week? A week to mom. Anyway, the Times. The Times has got two headlines here in Scotland, but only one in England, because, as I say, I do have the English papers up in front of me right now, actually. Anyway, the Times goes on, Salmon died suddenly of heart attack during conference lunch. Pretty accurate description, apparently. And Big Money says time is right to buy into Britain. And Big Money is absolutely correct. If you want to own a slice of the UK right now, you can buy it for tuppence fucking halfpenny. Tuppence halfpenny. Everything's for sale, and it's all gone the cheap, including the NHS, the education system, and that's all that's fucking left. Thanks, Alistair. You agree with me? The case finished them in politics. It did. But the civil service knew it was done, but it was dead. And the people here in Scotland have to understand, civil servants in Scotland don't work for the Scottish government. The civil servants in Scotland work for the UK government. And what's happening to Alec, what's happened to Nicola, what happened to Humza, it will happen to John, and it will happen to Ed. Well, not happen to John, actually, because he's no fucking leader. But anybody that comes to the fore to lead this movement forward, they're going to find themselves slugged and slandered and gone after by a corrupt state that wants to convince the people of Scotland that our leaders are too corrupt to be able to lead an independent country. Well, we look at the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers down that road at Westminster, which is fucking probably one of the most corrupt parliaments in the world. And as we've seen with Starmer's government, there's been no fucking change to the corruption in the last one. None. We've just found out that 22 billion will be thrown at carbon capture so that the people who give the Labour Party 4 fucking million quid will get to continue pumping fossil fuels, and that we won't have to change anything, even though the fucking planet's burning around about us. Wow. Anyway, the Telegraph here in Scotland goes on, Salmon's allies vow to secure justice. Right ahead. One thing's for sure, the people who caused the situation with Mr. Salmon, the civil service, they work for London. But whatever compensations are paid out to Mr. Salmon's family, they're not coming for the coffers in London. They're coming out of the public services here in Scotland. Right, and the eye has. The eye's an outlier this morning here in Scotland, actually, so I'm going to put it up. Because this one interests me a lot. So I'll get the eye up. I was looking at this in the English rags and all. It's good, they've got the same headline in the English rags. You know, and I say this one really interested me. And that is, university bosses claim 1 million expenses amid cash crisis. And it would appear that university chiefs who are on £300,000 a year are like politicians. They pay for fuck all by themselves. Nothing. Apparently they just send their expenses into the university to be covered. Is there any high-level public sector workers here in the UK actually paying fucking for anything? Yeah, apparently there's a cash crisis in the higher education system. But university bosses are on £300,000 a year plus. Apparently they're claiming everyone's own fucking expenses. Well, it would appear that politicians and educators at the highest level have the same fucking idea. Why should we pay for anything for big wages when we can just go and bill it to the public, or we go and bill it to the university? Oh, for fuck's sake. It would crack you up. Right now, this afternoon at 4 p.m, when the Two Davies come on, we'll be talking about other things, but, and we will be talking about, of course, the passing of Alex Salmond. Because, as I say, as somebody who commentates on politics, I've criticised Mr. Salmond for what I see as his mistakes. But I still recognise that the man was a formidable politician, and he did wake the people of Scotland up. The political landscape here in Scotland will never be the same. Never be the same. And the one thing we do know, and I know to be true, is Mr. Salmond's right. Mr. Salmond had always been right when it comes to Scottish independence. And it is coming, and it will happen. We do have to coalesce again into one complete unit. Movements only function properly when they are targeted properly. And when you put splits in a movement, and everybody's got a different aim for that movement, then that movement fails. Simple as that. But as I say, Mr. Salmond, he was a formidable politician. I'm not using words like titans, giant of the political sphere. None of that's true about politicians. They're public figures, but they're no fucking rock stars. And even then, I'm not enamoured by them either. I'm not enamoured by much. Okay. Hey, right, anyway, thanks very much for tuning in this morning. But we've heard all sorts of nonsense since Saturday at 17:26. All sorts of nonsense. And we'll hear all sorts of nonsense for the next few days, I say, but there are bigger things going on. Labour are about to carry out some disastrous policies which are going to fucking hammer the mentally ill and the disabled. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about probably immigration because it's big in the English papers again this morning. And we'll be talking about other things that are going on here in Scotland. Okay. So David and I will see you this afternoon at 4 p.m. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Yep, Mr. Salmond's gone, but he'd already been gone anyway. As a public figure here in Scotland, he'd been diminished deliberately by the press, and his own actions since leaving public office meant he was not really that relevant here in Scottish public life anymore. But it is important to reflect on the importance and the impact that the man had made over many years in politics. We'll catch you all this afternoon at 4 p.m. Look after each other. Keep your eyes on the prize, because there is only one destination. We just have to get coalesce again behind one vehicle and one leader, and we will get there. It's coming. It's coming, so eyes on the prize. Catch you at 4 p.m.